Royal Diamond is too loyal, guys. I'm back with another video, and we're going to be reacting to KSI before they were famous. So I know y'all know who KSI is. You know, he's one of the biggest reaction channels, YouTuber, artist. He's everything. Okay, so before we get into the video, though, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, and like this video, guys. Let's get into it.
Quitting YouTube, they ever find a bloke with a forehead as big as mine, mate? Okay. Like, bro, as if having 40 million combined subscribers between his main channel and his Sidemen project wasn't enough, the YouTube icon known as KSI has proven time and time again that he's a man of
I
many
give him
talents.
props.
While streaming might be his bread and butter, he's just as talented as a rapper, actor, and boxer as he is anything else. Okay, look, career pivots aren't the easiest thing in the world. That's why
KSI is
so few of us
amazing.
actually attempt them. But KSI has shown that he's more than just a novelty act in each of those respective fields. So how did he become a pioneer and accomplish damn near everything that he's ever set his mind to? Well, today you're going to find out.
Determination.
And since this is Sidemen Week
He
over
was
here
determined.
at Before They're Famous, we'll be celebrating this groundbreaking group all week long. But before we get into the unbelievable come up of KSI, please take a second to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff to make sure you don't miss a single episode on these guys. My bad, JJ, for the intro. I gotta do what I gotta do. Anyways, let's get into this story. KSI was born Olajide Olatunji on June.
Wonder who put lipstick on KSI. I'm wondering that.
19th, 1993. His parents are of Nigerian heritage, and his father, Jide, immigrated to the UK, while his mother, Yinka, was raised over in Europe, more specifically in Islington, London. JJ, as he was known as a kid, grew up in the town of Watford, Hertfordshire, alongside his brother Deji. While attending school is where he met future Sidemen collaborator Simon Minter. But JJ was something of a shy and introverted child, which led him to becoming an early adopter of YouTube after discovering early content creators who kept him widely entertained with FIFA gameplay videos. This naturally led to him creating his own channel at the age of 14 in 2008, which he named Jide Jr. His very first upload, well, believe it or not, it was actually an educational look at the Hubble telescope, in which he explained how the technology actually worked.
Okay, KSI
The
like
reason why radio
science.
telescopes are so big are because the size of the radio telescope determines the amount of radiation coming in.
Over the next year or so, KSI would continue to upload a handful of videos, most of them pertaining to FIFA gameplay. But he'd also occasionally try his hand at rapping, and technically speaking, KSI's first rap video was an ode to, of all things, his chemistry homework. A year or so later, in 2009, he'd create the channel that he still uses today. And though at the time it was originally called KSI Olajide Det, the last bit of that name stands for a British telecom, which I'm guessing was
I like
his
his
IP
name,
at the time.
Olajide.
On this channel, he'd continue to refine his gameplay videos from the comfort.
Olajide, that's different. Like his parents really thought of that. Like Olajide. That's dope.
Of his own bedroom in his parents' house in Watford. And his very first upload to the channel was titled Modern Warfare 2 Care Package Kill. Not long afterwards, KSI would shorten his name to those first three initials, which stand for knowledge, strength, and integrity, a motto that he discovered during his early days of playing the video game series Halo, and one that he takes so seriously that he even had it tattooed across his chest and arms. But as much fun as KSI was having online, in real life, things weren't nearly as easy. At the age of just 16, after a steep decline in his grades, he was asked to leave school. Rather than switch to someplace else, KSI abandoned his education completely. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this wasn't exactly
What? He said skip that.
met with celebration from his parents. Nigerian parents at that. Yeah, they don't play around with that stuff. While they might not have realized it at the time, his folks didn't have all that much to worry about. I mean, sure, a year or so into running his channel, he'd only have about 7,000 subscribers. But another year later, that number had tripled, as KSI's lovable and goofy nature began to capture the attention of fans all over the world. When asked to comment on what exactly helped spark his rise, he informed Vice, "A lot of people think being at the top means you have to be the best at a certain game. You don't. It's more about personality." And soon enough, KSI would prove that very point the first time he ever went viral. The year was 2012, and annoyed by how poorly the soccer player Emil Hasty was playing for the English national team, KSI dropped the video, ironically joking about how this guy must be the best player in the world.
If you're struggling to find the net, Heskey is definitely the best player
His
to rely
accent,
on.
though.
I put like no power in that. Want to get
KSI
out of
has a
danger?
strong
Well,
accent.
Heskey has the skills to pay the bills.
From that point forward, KSI was off and running. By 2013, he'd expand upon his content by co-founding the British entertainment collective known as the Sidemen, a group that focused on creating challenges, sketches, and video game commentary videos with a roster of big-time personalities, including the likes of KSI's original boy, Simon Minter, now known as Mini Minter, as well as Zerka, Toby, Bazinga, and Big Star 123. Don't worry, we will get into each of these dudes more in depth as the week goes along.
Man, like the whole Simon group, like they solid. Like he was, like from ground up, they grew together, worked together, and look at them now. Like, sometimes it's hard to find people you can like take with you on this journey to success. Sometimes you gotta leave people behind,
It's me, Simon, Josh, and Ethan? Yeah. No, and Toby.
The group originated in the Rockstar Social Club, where the majority of them met playing Grand Theft Auto Online. Back then, they were called the Ultimate Sidemen, and it included all those boys except for Harry, who would join them a year later in 2014. In terms of what the name stood for, Minter would admit that it was basically an inside joke used to describe how he followed KSI around. Telling Business Insider, a sideman is basically someone who just follows them around. I was basically JJ's that followed him. Within a few months of official...
he said it. He was his, that followed him around.
Teaming up, 4 of the boys, including KSI, would move together in a house near London, which they naturally took to calling the Sidemen House, a space that allowed them to create their projects more collaboratively. But KSI wasn't content with simply sticking to the streaming gameplay. He had higher ambitions. A few years earlier, when he was 18, he had attended a live performance of Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne tour. And it was right in that moment where he knew he for sure wanted to become a professional musician. He told GQ, "I was right in the nosebleed, so they were pretty much dots on the stage, but it sounded dope. I remember watching and thinking, man, one day, I don't know how or when this is going to happen, but I want to be able to do that." Even though KSI had dropped a few rap songs onto his channel, like his track Call of Duty, 1v5 Rap, this concert would become the real start of his musical journey. A few years later, in 2015, after continuing to refine his lyrical skill set, KSI dropped his very first hit track, Lamborghini.
That car,
Having been making
nice.
some decent money from YouTube for a few years now, KSI was inspired to write a song based upon the Lambo that he had just picked up for himself. And much to his utter surprise, the song would not only blow up on his YouTube channel, but it also reached #1 on the UK charts, which helped pave the way for his debut EP, Keep Up. Over the next few years, KSI would shift his priorities to focus on music and other enterprises, like writing a biography titled KSI, I Am Bellin. He also co-produced a book in 2016 alongside the rest of his collective titled Sidemen, the book. But with KSI becoming more and more entwined with things outside of YouTube, a rift began to form between him and his longtime friends. In 2017, KSI tweeted that he would be leaving the group. I mean, hell, he even released a diss track criticizing each specific member of the Sidemen. They were quick to respond with diss tracks of their own. But here's where I point out the obvious.
Criticizing.
As KSI himself would later admit, this entire beef, if you even want to call it that, was largely fabricated and played up for views and clicks. But it wasn't all cap. I mean, KSI really did feel like he needed a break to figure out if there was anything else he wanted to do with his life. And as it turns out, there was one thing. He wanted to become a boxer. KSI's first opponent was a man named Joe Weller, a fellow YouTuber who had been criticizing KSI and the Sidemen for years to get views of his own. On February 3rd, 2018, these two stepped into the ring and KSI won the bout only a minute and a half into the 3rd round. Shortly after the fight, KSI would call out Logan Paul, who became his next opponent in a series of matches. Their first ended in a draw, but their rematch in November of 2019 would see KSI winning via split decision. This incredible mainstream exposure would lead to even more crossover opportunities. KSI quickly became an iconic figure in the British media industry, showing up in TV series like The Great Stand-Up, to Cancer Bake Off, and being granted access to interview major Hollywood celebs like The Rock, Matt Damon, and Ryan Reynolds. He'd also continue to further his musical career. In May of 2022, he dropped his debut studio album, this simulation, with guest appearances from the likes of Smoke Perp, Tion Wayne, and Trippie Redd. And while that project may have only debuted at the number 2 spot on the UK's album charts, his next, All Over the Place, would top that by debuting at number 1 when it dropped in July of 2021. Today, KSI isn't only continuing to produce YouTube content of his own and alongside the Sidemen, he's also the founder of his own record label, The Online Takeover.
He's expanding. He's expanding. Like, come on now, multiple streams of income in different places. That's how you keep everything in line. That way you don't have to worry about anything going down because you got multiple businesses. Smart.
Even recently started his own boxing promotion called Misfits Boxing, the first event of which will be his upcoming fight with Alex Wasabi, scheduled to take place in August.
Just do me a favor and keep that weight up, boy. Because if you come anywhere close to entering my weight class, I will humble you.
In other words, KSI has had an absolutely mind-blowing journey from a shy, introverted kid to somebody who is literally one of the most popular entertainers in the world now. But as for what comes next, well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, after all, this is before they were famous. My name is Clyde Smith. I really hope you guys enjoyed this first entry into our week-long Sidemen series. And don't forget to check back here in 24 hours for our next episode. In the meantime, please remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode.
Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. Y'all know I'll be back for more. I'm out.